Okay, let us continue podcast 8, where we are a little bit bound by principle 8. That's the correct use of energy, because this is, again, what is the understanding of the correct use of energy? We had the correct commitment that goes in to say, okay, why do we commit to do this? It cannot be for selfish purposes. It cannot be because we want to get activated, or we want to do something where we get a better position. That creates distortion. It must always be seen in the context of our original purpose and function, the reality field we are part of. That is going with, are we aiming to get back to the holographic metaverse? Then our energy work will be defined by that purpose, that commitment to get back there. Or is it part of the incoming races and their version of the LPU? Then our commitment will be colored by the transition dynamics to get into their version of the fifth cycle, or we'll choose to get into the fifth cycle or the regional outer domain that were part of the Pillar Project LPU version of the outer domain, and what we were to achieve there using what's left of the holographic teaching systems in the original outer domain Pillar Project fifth cycle. Or we will choose to go into the retirement programs, or we will choose just to do base program. This will define our commitment, principle 7. That will define how we work with our business and what we want to achieve with our operational projects or our business as an extension of our everyday life, as we recall it when we did the transition science courses and going into the template sciences. We follow everything we do, kind of follow the principles, but on different layers of the progression spiral. So we take the principles and say, well, now we're doing business, but we still have principle 1 that is, that's the first of many for the highest good of the many, changing the world to be a better place where we can all thrive, right? So principle 2 is balancing so that we are not just doing it for selfish purposes, but also doing it for the reality field, and at the same time being observant of not creating distortion. And that means to be harmless in manner of that we are always contemplating and meditating and energy work and clearing work and self-containment and self-observation in knowing when to do what, how to do what's the correct use of energy here, how do I actually amplify this, how do I not amplify this, going into what we call the law of participation, where we begin to understand which businesses are we to collaborate with. Is that a business we want to be aligned with and come under the laws of association? And by that, whatever they're doing will rub off into our business and rub off into our energy system, leaving imprints there and eventually being sucked into whatever type of business that is. As I talked about with Google, kind of right now, they do not appear to be overly hostile. We can always argue pro and against anything. We could always say, well, why don't you use Firefox, or why don't you use Bing, or why don't you use something else? So we can always, it depends on who and what we are and what we are aligned with and what type of group of extra-systemic that are part of our relative reality and where we choose to be as living beings and how we choose to develop ourselves within the different groups that are presented to us knowingly or unknowingly. And there's also principle 4, the law of reciprocity, that what we send out there will come back to us. That's the karma law, as in what we seed is what we will harvest. What we are working with is what will be created in our energy system. And that will align us with different co-streams. That will align us with different types of reality dynamics. And that will then amplify our energy system, because our perception field and our way of working with reality will be colored by the way we are administering our energy system and what we have activated and what level of the spiral, whether it's progression or regression spiral, that we are operating on. These are the relative reality dynamics. So that's the secret behind reciprocity. That is, what you are is what you will be part of, right? But not just the law of participation, but actually that's what bridges us in via our choices into the different progression or regression dynamics that will then either open up to what we call inner knowledge that will lead us to understand the dynamics of reality, that will connect us to either the holographic teaching system or our own template or both. or other levels of reality where what we get from within would either be under factional control and prohibiting technologies or cube systems or what have you as part of the fifth cycle under the artificial fifth domain, or a level of the middle domain, or it will be as part of the original outer domain, fifth level connected to the fifth the density 2 fifth dimensional level of the original outer domain dynamics as part of the original pillar project, or is it going to be something else? So all of this ties into principle 5. So with that, we also go into principle 6 that goes with correct partnerships. And that's important when we talk about creational projects and we talk about new types of business. But it's not only businesses and other people or society itself. It is just as much the correct partnership with our own energy system and the correct partnership with reality field itself, and the partnership with the code streams we choose to be on by determining what type of energy system we choose to have and how we administer our energy system will determine what kind of partners that will come away. Some of them are to teach us what to clear out, to teach us how to progress, or to teach us that now we are going down a path that leads to regression, because what appears to us will then be people, no matter how nice and kind they are, their energy systems are on the regression spiral. And by that shows us you are now surrounded by people that are part of the regression dynamic. So that means that you have made choices that have now put you into that relative reality where things are going the opposite direction. And unless you change your ways, you will go with that bunch, and that will be your peers and that will be your partners. So again, depending on what we want to do with our energy system. And that ties us into, and that applies to businesses as well. If we align with businesses where we can see everybody's kind of in the regression spiral or under the dark ones or controlled by the transhuman agenda, well, perhaps that's not where we should do business, right? Because eventually we will be stopped by these dynamics due to the law of association, the law of participation. We are participating in that type of dynamics. So we will remain there. We will get the 3 alarm clocks running, 3 times choices. You will be asked that 3 times. And if you still overhear these 3 times, well, then you have made your choice. Then you're there. The door will close. You can no longer leave that until the next round, where you will then either have to do a trial to get out of it, or because you can show actually by your energy system, the way you normally operate, that you do not belong there. And by that, I'll let go of it, because it's just imprint. It's just a rub off, and it's not an actual collaboration, but it's a concord, as it's called, which then lets you go. The segregation dynamics will let you go eventually. Or if you have literally got so soaked and entangled into that you technically do belong there, and then you can do as many trials as you like. The only way to get out is to work your way out, and that's the clearing work. So these are some of the things that plays in when we talk about doing business with other businesses, where we can see that they are definitely part of jurisdictions and factions we shouldn't get involved in, and learn that either the by logical, rational choice making, or the hard way where we pretend it's not there, and then eventually we get so smacked that we do get, oh yeah, now I'm so soaked in this, I'm so entangled that now I'm literally just waiting for the spider to come and chew me up, because I'm so entangled into that web. And that's where things get very difficult. So the whole point of correct partnership is to understand that sometimes we can work in alignment with as a parallel concord, but we are not getting into the entanglement dynamics, and we have to let go once we begin to get too entangled, understanding that we don't belong within that jurisdiction. Thereby, we should not collaborate with that jurisdiction, and we will get the warnings, we will get the signs, either by retaliation or by being pulled in, or by some other means that will clearly show us that we don't belong there. And that's the warning system. Or we'll just get it in our heads. Don't go there. That's the easy one. That's typically the dark ones, because they don't really want us where we don't belong. So they are remember that many of the dark ones used to actually be our brothers and sisters that got inverted during the timeline event. But when we talk about the regress races, or we talk about the parallel universal matrixes, or the transhuman, or the incomers, or the aliens from the other systems that are here to harvest genetics, they're saying, oh yeah, cool, come our way, because then we can harvest from you. So that's the whole deception that kicks in there and tells us sweet talks us to believe that why we can still stay there, even though we know that this is not where we belong. So they are putting thought forms in our heads that eludes us to keep going, even though we know it's wrong. In our gut, we know, I shouldn't do that, but we keep going on because our mind tells us, oh yeah, you can just do this or you can just do that, and then it'll be good and fine and what have you, overriding our natural discernment mechanisms. And that goes in business as well. So these are some of the things where the typically said the angel and the demon on the shoulder, right? Where we stop listening to the demon as in kind of luring us to why it's okay, but actually listen to the angel that says, don't do that. This is not going to lead to anything good. So don't do that. Don't think you can control this, because we're up against alien technologies. We're up against co-streams. We're up against things that we have not learned to master yet. And even though we can clear the imprints of it and get rid of the clones, as I taught in the advanced energy work classes, we can do a lot of stuff to get us out of these co-streams. If you continue doing what we're doing, well, the imprints will then grow stronger and stronger. And eventually it's going to be pretty difficult to get out. And that's the only way out there is a trial. And that one goes with that we have shown over a period of time that we actually do not belong there. So things has to be made in the correct manner with the correct use of energy. And that's the correct commitment, understanding where to put in our effort and where to put in our energy and where to put in our focus, and not just create narratives and stories for ourselves that gives us these little gaps or these little what you call loopholes, direct translation from Danish, where we worm our way around what we know is right and what's wrong. So correct commitment is where we really go in and say, no, this is the honorable way. This is where we commit in an honorable way, following the highest spiritual rate, the highest standards, the highest progression rate, not for selfish purposes, but for the dynamics of our own transformative progression journey, but also the transformative progression journey of the system, and to undo the effects of the timeline event. That's the commitment. So whatever we're engaging in as part of this reality must be within the scope and the umbrella of these dynamics: transformative energy system dynamics, transformative reality dynamics, to undo the effects of the timeline event and to get back onto the progression spiral, to get back into the elevation cycles, to do what we originally set out to do as part of the original 12 lineages. And you'll say, well, how am I going to create a business within that scope of reality? Well, everything around you is just a manifestation of some type of energy. Everything that goes out there, even with all of their strong limitations, and even though the response to it, for instance, I still have because I let the steam out of it, I had a frustration box around earning money that goes with, I'm not going to go into that length explanation of it, but the limitations as part of Denmark, even though there's this high level of tax and a high level of VAT, I kind of just put a lid on it because there was not much I could do about it. If I chose to do what was important for me, then I had to pay 25% in VAT and I had to pay 40% in tax. And that's just how it was. If I wanted to pay less, I had to go another way. I had to do something that was not really what I wanted to do. So the challenge for me was, okay, you're going to go what you really want to go, but you pay the highest amount of tax and VAT to do so. Hence, also energetically saying this is going to have that's a high exchange rate. That's a high price to pay to really follow your original progression dynamics, because we are in a system that does not want me to progress. But if I compromised and went with the whole, then I have to pay less in exchange rate to the system that is the base program and the prohibiting technologies, and worm my way around as part of the base program and earn some money. Well, then I would come under the energies of profit. I would come under the energies of greed. Technically, I would compromise. I would be less committed to my own progression journey because I wanted to earn more money. I wanted to pay less back into the enslavement program, so to speak. So instead I just say, okay, I just shelf that one. I cannot give it more energy. And then I will find a way to make this work that is in between until further notice, until the next opening presents itself where I can then push these limitations. And since it's taken 10 years for me to get there, once I got back in, the first thing that happened when I took off the lid was all the frustration, all the angriness, all the so unfairness, and then all the frustration and all the things my mom and dad and what have you. So it was this whole kind of volcanic eruption that happened there. And then working with that and saying, okay, now I know these were the dynamics I couldn't do anything about back then, but it's clearly still there. So now to clear that out. And then I need to consider, okay, where am I now? What's the reality now? What can I do about this now? I can't change the Danish tax system, and I can't change the way that operates, but I can change the way I feel about it. So I get rid of that one first. Then I can begin to look into, okay, there are other ways to work with reality that is not part of the old world order system, but works with the reality in a different manner, which I haven't discovered yet. But that's also part of getting out there, saying, okay, what are the systems such as Google search engine and the hierarchy we're being placed in, because we're either playing with their system or playing against their systems. And no, I'm not going to play with AI. Not at all. That's where I put my limits. That's my limitation there, that I'm not crossing that threshold. I'm not doing AI to get a higher level in the search engines, because that's a specific group of enhanced humans. I'm not collaborating with them. So using AI and engaging with their bots and their AI system will be the same as engaging with enhanced humans. And I already sent out, I'm not doing that one. You can do your Third Reich Nazi 1,000-year AI dominated future for yourself. I'm not engaging in that one. And then go into some other direction with the parallel eighth dimensional races of the future Andromedan system or something else, and then work with their cube technology and see what they will allow with these timelines that they are engineering for the purpose of us that wants to join that, and might discover further down the line that they are not interested in me as I'm not interested in them, but we kind of have to work in concord or parallelly for a while to discover whether or not we want to get deeper into a type of actual collaboration. And that's why you can say it's a kind of a trial or a test period where they see what I actually can do and cannot do with their technologies, which are that timeline is put in operation for that purpose of where I am, to see what I can do with it. So they're technically test cubes and not real cubes before we are let into their full holographic reality setup that they are implementing and will continue to implement, because their goal is to take portions of our reality field and turn it back into the original LPU with an extension of the ancient ones and how they are collaborating with what they have got allowances to do. So going back to this again, so what are the purpose and function of getting out there seen from the perspective of the correct use of energy? So that's why we kind of are here now when we work through the principles. We kind of get that one. It's right in our face. The correct use of energy is to undo the effects of the timeline event, to progress our own energy system into a transformative energy system, and at the same time transform the reality field and get back on board with the original progression dynamics that we set out to do in this system. It's as simple as that. How that is implemented into business, it goes with the perception of your business. It goes with whatever type of business you choose to work within. And that's where I suggest either food, health, or environment. And that's part of the food, health, and environment courses, where I go into details. Okay, if you choose to work with food, or if you choose to work with health, or you choose to work with environment's not necessarily environment as we understand it. It can be many different things, but not just what we call shoveling matter around in gadgets and items, but actually work with transformative energies somehow, somewhere. There can be others that are engineers that are working with the gadgets, but we could be part of the consulting. We could be part of the psychological dynamics. We could be part of the what we call the culture behind the business, somewhere where we can go in and work with transformational features that will allow people to be more observant, how to be more in alignment with the world they are part of, how to actually work for principles within the base program. We could say that we know lead to good outcomes, ethical questions, different forms of advice, support, mentoring, coaching, psychology. There will be, when we talk about health, there will be new types of healing modalities, which I work with in the HAL project as part of the reconfiguration, where I'm kind of choosing to go in that direction as part of the future timelines, because we have the 5th cycle timeline that are coming up. That's the first choice we're doing. That's the process of the HAL Academy to get into the 5th, connecting to the 5th cycle. But then we can say, okay, I'm connected to the 5th cycle on that level or that level or that level. And that's where the reconfiguration dynamics then comes in, because we now know what we want to reconfigure towards. And that's part of the Systemic Energetic Awareness Forum and the HAL project, where we work with the high order progressive energies to align ourselves with the futures that we have chosen to become part of. And that, of course, does not entail or include the dark ones and the shitty realities and whatever's going on around the world that is also unfolding there, shift into whatever future they are choosing to become part of. So, and how does the correct use of energy apply to the progression dynamics of our transformative energy system to build up the code layers needed to truly do the transition? And that is implied in what I just said here as well. It depends on what type of cycle we want to go into. If we want to continue the 4th cycle, or want to go to the 5th cycle, or want to go with whatever we are aiming our, or whatever we are committing to as part of our energy work, that will define the progression dynamics, that will define the correct use of energy, and that will define everything that we're working with. So we kind of make a choice. It is not the choice for the rest of our lives. It is a kind of a preliminary choice that, as I said, go into concord with wherever we point our attention. So we kind of say, that's the commitment I have for now, aside from the commitment of the original progression dynamics and the original lineages and what we were supposed to do as part of the elevation cycles. I'm now here in this reality, and I choose to work on this level. And by that, I am committing to that code stream, or that version of reality, that relative reality, where I will unfold my progression dynamics, creating the highest purity rate, standards of progression rate within that type of reality, within these dynamics, as we did originally. And our business would be an exemplification of that. So in the contemplation of that, these questions are good to work with in contemplation and energy work, and as a foundation for new strategies to implement the transformative processes of engagement in order to heighten the exchange rate of our products. And that, again, if our products are what we call energetically based, whatever that means, then it's easier to work with the holographic features behind our product. The holographic features behind the code streams we have decided to become part of, the energetic levels of the partnerships that we are gauging ourselves into, the way that we are marketing our products, because we are aware of which sector within the virtual reality are we working within, as we talked about the AI and the enhanced humans, or the future races that are coming in, or whatever we're dealing with, because they are all using the internet as the medium to work inside this reality, and all of it is connected to technology. So the discernment is here with the 5th dimensional cubes. Which cubes are we working? Which type of technology are we engaging with when we work on the virtual reality? Because the internet and everything that goes with all the machines in our world are now being aligned to the different levels of the new type of frequency fence that are being implemented as we speak, and the new ways our reality will work. So this is, again, follow the technology and figure out where it takes us and what the jurisdiction that actually is part of, and how we can collaborate with that type of technology without being overtaken by it, without being overridden by it. And for those who say, I'm not going to work with technology, well, I'm just saying that's part of the LPU. So that's part of the mastery as well. Yes, you can go out on an island and sit in deep meditation, or go into a cave, or build some kind of Faraday cage around you so you will not connect to any technology at all. That's a choice too. But if you want to be part of the base program as it's been modified right now, that is the difficult navigation skills, because every tool that you will have as part of your business will now be linked up to some kind of technology. So we might as well learn to master it, whatever that means or whatever that implies. Even your car is built up of alien technology. Your computer, your iPhone, every tool that you can think of is now imbued with some sort of technology that links either up to the new version of the frequency fence or are linked up to fifth dimensional types of bots and cubes and what have you that are within the different jurisdictions. Whereas we could say in the old world order and the prohibited technologies, we were dealing there with energetic parasites. That was the main issue there. Energy patterns, distortion energies, astral entities, and energetic parasites. That was what we're dealing with there. And in the fifth cycle, it's technology that's going to either be the one that would chew us up or that we will learn to master and clear out so we can still do our progression dynamics and move through the dire straits of the littered cubes and satellites and future technologies that are part of the fifth cycle as it were changed during the times of Atlantis and onward and into all of the different types of groups that have been here collaborating with the Dark Ones or some of the transhuman agenda races in their fifth, sixth, and seventh dimensional version of their reality fields. So in that, we are now beginning to look into, okay, there are different dynamics when we talk about reality field dynamics, when we talk about progressive dynamics, when we talk about working with energies as part of our business, that we are now in the midst of and are trying to learn how to master as we are learning to master the different principles in our activation and awakening process, so to speak. And again, when we talk about business, it is, for now, it's part of the fourth cycle in the old world order version of it, and we are now working our way into the fifth cycle version of it. So again, we work to inspire to change, to inspire and give the incentive of developing the higher order awareness, as well as working under the goal of achieving progressive, communicative, and positive developmental and environmental awareness to be able to do creational or business projects as part of the highest order reality for the highest good of the many. And we must keep reminding ourselves that that is what we do, so that we do not forget that why we're doing what we're doing, but we do that so we remind ourselves that that is that we do with our business, right? And we're doing it as a team and we're doing it as hands-on. That's why I use that picture there, that this is where we go and say, this is what we choose to do. This is what we commit to do, right? So it's a repeat of what I wrote earlier on, but it's still that understanding that this is when we do business, this is what we commit to do. We inspire to change, we inspire to progression, we inspire to developing our higher awareness capacities. Always kind of keep that in the back of your head with whatever you're doing, so you don't slip into the traditional business concepts and ideas where doing business is all about earning money, right? It's all about getting profits. It's all about making yourself rich, but not going into the opposition where you kind of become the, what you call the beggar that are begging for donations and doing everything for free, because that's also imbalance. That's not a viable exchange rate where you give and give and give. And in that manner, there's nothing that comes back to you. Actually, you're overloading people with all of the things you're giving, which is something I also had to learn, because many of you know how much I put out there for free. But then I learned, well, if I put out what I put out for free is clearing up the old world order program, well, then it's transformative. And in that are clearing the path for others to make a different type of choice. And in that I'm not giving, overloading, but I'm actually creating a path. So that's a way when we say, if we want to do free material and want to do it in a donation basis, well, then the exchange rate must be something that will give an opportunity for people to buy into it by donating, or go deeper in by doing the actual trade as an exchange rate by buying the course material. But if they don't want to do that, well, at least they will have the choice. But the information they will be given will be within their reality field perception and concepts, as in when I work with clearing the chakra system teaching system or the Buddhist teaching system. Well, they're working with concept that needs to be transformed, but it's still in its original form. So people can still say, no, I choose that. I do not choose to go the path of transition or the path of change. So I'm working with something, giving them an opportunity, but it's not a fixed opportunity. It's not as if you have to do this. You have to buy into it. You have to trade your way into it, or you have to do the correct commitment where you actually give what we could say a portion of energy by not just studying it, not just coming across it on the internet, but you actually provide what we could say an income for me by paying for my courses, or people that pay you for your products, so that you can actually continue your process, continue the work that you are doing. So that's the difference between the freely given material, is that there is no obligation there. Whereas when people commit to it by buying it and actually ensure that I can continue with my projects because they are paying for my material, that's a support to the work I am doing. That is a different type of commitment. It's not about giving the money. It's about the intent behind giving the money, as in, yes, I'm actually engaging so deeply that I now want to buy the course material, and by that are providing me with energy and an income that allows me to continue my project of creating what is important for me to create. And in that, they are supporting, that's a concord supporting my project. So that's a type of alignment. So we need to ask these questions as well when we talk about how to generate sales and create markets that provide exchange of goods and services within the concepts of the higher awareness setup to further the implementation of new sciences, industries, services, and concepts of higher awareness, humanity ready to interact directly with the higher order energies of our system, from the organic to the holographic energetic dynamics of our world. So that goes in, that's the question I work with there, as in kind of say, what we choose to engage in by investing in it, not only as investing in it on the internet. That's the free choice. That's not really committing to it, but actually investing in it by putting some of our earned money, some of our energy into it, either by working together or by working with it, or actually investing in it via money, which is also energy. So that's part of when we talk about the generate sales and create markets. We must have that in mind. It's not just about getting out there and getting consumers to come our way, create leads or what have you, or create funnels or all of these kind of things. It's about understanding that what we offer out there is a choice people can choose to engage on or not, because we're not just creating a product. We are creating a lifestyle. We are creating a different way of being human. We are creating progression dynamics. We are engaging in ways that will elevate our consciousness potentials. And that's what I'm selling, quote unquote. So can I even market it? Can I go out and create some kind of ads that will say, do this, and then you will rise in awareness? Technically not. That would be selling my course material within the base program dynamics. So I can't really market it the traditional ways. So I have to look at, okay, how can I then become visible? I can't market it in the way traditionally as it's done by creating ads, but I can make myself visible. How do I make myself visible? How do I go in and present my material in a way that is appetizing, but not appetizing in, oh, it looks so good, so everybody wants to engage in it. I'm not selling it. I'm not doing the sales pitch that does not live up to the requirements, or oversell it, or create a false or deceptive means or interface system around it. But I go in and say, this is what you get. This is what it actually is. And then use the dynamics of choice, the free will of commitment or non-commitment to it, the different dynamics of where people explore the material and work with the material and figure out, is this for me or not? And if not, well, then they will fall away. And if it is, then they will work deeper with it. So that's the concord dynamics that comes in there as well. And I have not found the full solution to this yet, but I'm working on it, saying, okay, clearly we have now, when I work with the parallel races of the original LPU, well, then clearly there are different dynamics that plays in now, which first and foremost I had to adjust to and get rid of what's left of the old world order limitation systems, and then go in and say, okay, I now got a whole new field to play on, but how do I play on it with my correct progression dynamics? Because that's what the trial is about. The trial is, okay, we give you these opportunities now. Now play. Show us how you play football. Show us how you do this. As if it's still aligned with how we have done it. Now you show that you still remember some of the original ways, and see if you can play them in with this new field, these new code streams, and these new technologies we have created for the purpose. It's completely holographic, so they can just push the button and then it's all gone. But everything begins as a holographic program. And if I work with it correctly, then that program will be implemented into my energy system. And then I will begin to manifest accordingly. And that will then begin to put it into the outer domain as an actual seeding feature, as an actual change of reality. So that's a different way of working with the patterns of change. So we are also talking about, in the questions to be asked, there is much more to say regarding this. And I actually want to take a break here, and then I want to resume to these questions to be asked in a separate podcast where we will work with that exclusively, and then get some of the answers that are for these questions. And then we'll end up this course material. We're breaking this down to known concepts and tools. Again, where we're kind of summing up the material that I've here made, working with some of the new concepts of business and where we can work towards, and some of the ways that we can do it, not as giving the full solution, but how to initiate the processes and the thinking processes and the strategy processes about working with the new levels of reality and what that means to us and our energy system and our own progression journey. Thank you.